Have you ever wondered how a tiny strip of water in Central America became one of the most powerful geographic choke points on Earth? A canal so important that if it stopped working, the entire global economy would feel the shock within days. This is the Panama Canal, an 82-kilometer shortcut carved through mountains, jungles, and swamps. A man-made passage that changed world history forever. Ships that once traveled 20 to 1,000 kilometers around South America now need only a fraction of that distance. But how did such a small country end up controlling one of the most strategic waterways on Earth? Why did the United States invest enormous money, manpower, and political influence to build it? And why are world powers like the US and China still competing for influence over it today? This is the story of the most important canal on Earth and how it controls the world. Before the canal existed, ships moving between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans had only one route: the long, treacherous journey around the southern tip of South America, the dangerous Cape Horn. This journey was long, slow, expensive, and often deadly. Storms could crush wooden ships, unpredictable waves made the journey treacherous, and the extra weeks of travel made global trade slow and costly. Yet, separating the two great oceans lay the Isthmus of Panama, a thin, narrow land bridge. For centuries, explorers and empires dreamed of cutting through it. A canal here would save time, money, and ultimately shift global power toward whoever controlled it. The first major attempt came from France in the late 1800s. This was the same group that had just successfully built the Suez Canal. So hopes were high, but Panama proved to be a completely different beast. Engineers faced a formidable opponent: mountains, dense jungle, endless tropical rain, and swamps infested with mosquitoes carrying malaria and yellow fever. The challenges were immense. Heavy equipment sank into the mud. Disease spread faster than the workers could dig. It was a human tragedy. Over 20,000 laborers died. After a decade of struggle and financial collapse, the French finally admitted defeat and abandoned the project. The jungle began to reclaim what they had built, but the dream of a canal lived on. At the beginning of the 1900s, a rising power, the United States, recognized that controlling a canal in Panama would be a game changer, transforming it into a true global power with a two-ocean navy. There was just one problem. Panama was part of Colombia, and the Colombian government refused to let the U.S. build a canal on its terms. So, the United States took a more aggressive approach. It supported a Panamanian independence movement. American warships positioned themselves just off the coast, a clear message to Colombia. Unable to respond, Colombia watched as Panama declared its independence. Almost immediately afterward, the newly formed nation of Panama granted the United States control of a 10-mile-wide canal zone. With a better understanding of how to combat diseases like malaria and with more advanced technology, American construction succeeded where the French had failed. In 1914, the Panama Canal officially opened. Its impact was immediate and revolutionary. The travel distance between New York and San Francisco was slashed by over 15,000 kilometers. Trade between Asia, Europe, and the Americas became dramatically cheaper and faster. Military fleets could now move from the Atlantic to the Pacific in a matter of days instead of months. The world had just become a much smaller place. For decades, the United States controlled the canal and the surrounding zone, essentially governing a piece of America inside Panama. But this arrangement created growing resentment. Panamanians felt that a piece of their country had been taken from them. Protests and riots escalated over the years, with Panamanians demanding sovereignty over their own land. Eventually, the pressure became too much. The U.S. agreed to a historic treaty, promising to hand over full control of the canal to Panama at the stroke of midnight on December 31, 1999. As the date approached, many around the world were skeptical. Critics feared that Panama wouldn't be able to manage such a complex and vital asset. They predicted corruption, mismanagement, and even disruptions to global trade. Yet, the opposite happened. Panama not only managed the canal successfully, but it thrived. They modernized the canal, improved its efficiency, and massively increased its profits. They even undertook a colossal expansion project, completed in 2016, to accommodate the new generation of giant container ships. The canal became the foundation of Panama's economy and a powerful symbol of national pride. But this success brought new attention and new challenges. Today, the canal sits at the center of a quiet geopolitical competition. The United States still depends heavily on it. Around 40% of all U.S. container traffic passes through its locks. It's a vital artery for the American economy. At the same time, China has emerged as one of the canal's largest users, second only to the U.S. Chinese companies have invested heavily in nearby ports, logistics hubs, and infrastructure projects, raising concerns in Washington about China's growing influence in a region historically dominated by the United States. For other major economies like Japan, South Korea, and nations across Europe and South America, the canal remains an indispensable lifeline for global trade. But the biggest threat to the canal today isn't war or politics. It's something far more fundamental: water. The canal's lock system relies on massive amounts of fresh water from surrounding lakes to raise and lower ships on their journey between the oceans. Each ship that passes through consumes millions of gallons of water that is then released into the sea. In recent years, climate change has brought severe droughts to the region. The lakes that feed the canal have seen their water levels drop to historic lows. This has forced the Panama Canal Authority to implement restrictions, limiting the number of ships that can pass through each day and how much cargo they can carry. These restrictions have already caused shipping backlogs, delayed deliveries, and increased costs. If these water shortages continue, the world could see major supply chain disruptions, higher prices for consumers, and ripple effects across the entire global economy. The very existence of this man-made wonder is threatened by the forces of nature. So why does the Panama Canal still control the world? Because it sits at the absolute crossroads of global trade. Because it shortens distances, lowers costs, and keeps our modern world supplied with goods. Because nations from every corner of the planet rely on it every single day. And because whoever influences the canal gains a powerful advantage in global politics and economics. More than 100 years after it first opened, this 82-kilometer channel remains one of the most important man-made features on Earth. It is a powerful reminder that geography can shape history and that a narrow strip of water, carved by human ambition and sacrifice, can influence the entire world. The Panama Canal may look small on a map, but its impact is massive, and its future will continue to shape global trade for decades to come. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world. See you next time.